Mystic Moon opening.
It's Wednesday evening. You're listening to Mystic Moon Cafe with Wendy Schindler and Travis Short. Every week, we will interview guests that are experts in various fields of the supernatural, paranormal, unexplained, and esoteric. So sit back and let us take you on a journey to educate, enlighten, and entertain as we broaden your horizons. Now, here's your hosts, Wendy Schindler and Travis Short.
Alrighty, that's me, Wendy. Travis is there somewhere.
I'm swimming.
He's swimming.
Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. I take Dory's advice.
I have no idea what that means, but
You've seen
along.
Finding Nemo. You haven't seen Finding Nemo?
Oh, I have, but it's been a really long time.
Well, me too. But
okay.
Unfortunately, I have almost a didactic memory. So I memorize movies from the beginning to end.
I had a feeling that was probably pretty close to your affliction, or one of many.
Oh, that doesn't come close to my affliction. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
How's your hump day?
It's I got this bump on my big toe where I broke it yesterday. So that's it's a day. Not bad, but just kind of having to sit back and keep that foot up.
Well, that's not good.
That's true.
I've broken toes, and that hurts like a mother.
Yes, it does.
It really does.
Yeah, it really, really does. And even though I have a really good, I don't know if it's really good or not, but I can break a bone and there's a real sharp pain, but then it's gone until, 6 or so hours after. And, it's more than 6 or so hours after now. So
just long enough to make you think that you're not going to feel pain.
Uh-huh.
And then you do.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've broken toes. Actually, the first set of toes that I broke, I was married, and the house was broken into.
Uh-oh.
In the middle of the night, and I woke up to a flashlight in my face, shining, and I jumped out of bed to chase the bastard out of the house. And when I did, I rounded the corner out of the room, and my middle and third toe caught the door frame and just snapped.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As my grandpa says, that'll make your mouth go round like a donut.
Oh, was not my mouth that went round like a donut.
Did your sphincter shrink up?
No, it was bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was bad. So, and especially we're having to wear dress shoes. And even tennis shoes is a pain, but I was always wearing suits and dress shoes. And so, yeah, it was bad. They turned black and purple, then green, then yellow. Yeah, it was fun. So I feel your pain. All the way in Virginia, I feel your pain.
Everybody should.
I feel your pain. So I'm trying to feel no pain.
I understand that. Stupid ATM machines.
That was just the kind of the cherry on top of the day.
Mm-hmm.
It really was.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Kinda.
I have to at least pretend to express sympathy, or people think I'm an unfeeling bitch.
Your false sympathy is greatly appreciated. Which I guess I just created a new word, false sympathy.
False sympathy.
False sympathy. That's the mood I'm in right now. False sympathy. That actually that's not the mood. The mood I'm in is to say shit like that. And I can say shit, but I can say that. This is an internet radio. I can say
exactly. Yes.
Yeah. We are not governed by the FCC or the FUCK or the whatever. I don't care. It's been. Yeah. I'm. Oh, did you play our disclaimer?
I did not. Not yet.
You probably need to play the disclaimer.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to play the disclaimer.
You're listening to Mystic Moon Cafe. The views and opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the network, or our sponsors.
Now, since Travis is one of the hosts, it apparently will actually reflect his opinion and stances on whatever the hell we're talking about.
The funny thing is, that disclaimer was actually produced specifically for me because I got to cross the line a couple of times, and when Wendy made me come up with a disclaimer, but it did spur me to actually create a disclaimer for my talk show in the daytime, which is on terrestrial radio, which has been very, very beneficial since last week I dealt with white supremacy, and this week I dealt with medical marijuana. So these have all been excellent choices that I've made. So what's your mood tonight, Wendy?
Oh, I'm just here. I'm all right. I may not be at full mental capacity, but when am I ever?
I was going to say, then we should be good to go for the show.
I would think so. Yes.
We're both good. Yeah. I am just, my mood is I'm totally exhausted. That's my mood tonight.
Okay.
I'm just like, I'll come out of it. Especially once we get our guest on. We got a great guest tonight.
Oh yes.
Which you get to do the introduction when I bring him on, because you've written about him. I will write and introduce Andrea next week. By the way, we do have Andrea Perrin coming on next week.
Yes, we do.
Always a fun show with Andrea.
Yep.
And
Bill Bean the following week.
Bill Bean, and I spoke to Bill today. I know, miracle of miracles. I spoke to him last Wednesday. I spoke to him today. And yes, Bill is signed up on his calendar. He will be with us on the 17th. So, working now on the rest of May. I think, have we got anyone for do we have?
Well, we were going to bring Justin on, but he hasn't given me a date yet. So,
well, screw him. He can't come on in May. He had.
All right then. Actually, he's promoting the heck out of the next show. He's
Justin's a good guy. I can't wait to have him on the show, so we can talk to him. But we're trying to get Cammie Anderson and Richard Estep back on to talk about the haunting there at Asylum 49. But working on some others. I think you got a book in the mail, and that actually it dawned on me that the book that you got, which was on dream interpretation, I believe.
Yes.
That is the publisher of Nick Redfern's most recent book. That's why you got that.
I figured it was, but I never did get the Redfern book, so I was like,
"Oh, you're kidding me!"
No. I mean, well, I got the e-copy. But I definitely have not gotten the Roswell one that he put up on Facebook today.
Oh yeah, I haven't got that one either. Okay. But I didn't get a copy of the Dream Interpretation book. I did, however, get Ross's book by Haunted Journal.
Oh, all right, very good.
And I don't recall requesting that one, but I'm glad I got it. It's a very interesting book. I enjoyed it a great deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
I haven't had the time or the energy to crack Haunted Toys myself yet, because let's face it, that's just creepy. There's just too much creepy in that book to do like at night or alone at night.
Or alone during the daytime or with someone else.
Yeah, I might go sit out in the yard with the dogs when I'm reading it.
That book is creepy as F. It
yes,
really
it is. Yeah, completely.
There's a lot of weird stuff in there. Ross and June. I have, however, decided that the next time we have them on, we're having a drinking game. Every time someone says brothel, where everybody's taking a drink.
Perfect. That's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I think it'll be perfect. Every time somebody says brothel. So.
Yes, and I'll go over to the local discount liquor store in one of the little townships where the taxes are a little bit less, and pick up some good samples of some of these that I'm reading a bit and finding. And
that we definitely need to do. Definitely. So Of course, we have. I don't think we haven't talked to our guest yet. We haven't got him on the phone yet, so we don't know what his particular poison is. But we have added this great little corner of the show, the Mystic Moon Mixer, where we kind of talk about drinks and cocktails, and we talk and give out some ideas. And if we know in advance what our guest likes, then we will go ahead and try to have that during the show.
My bad. I did forget that. I apologize to everybody.
Oh, that's fine. Which I do know that we have next week. Andrea has already told us she wants cognac, so we'll be drinking brandy next week.
Yeah, I don't know who this we is, but you all have fun at it. I don't have that palate for the liquors quite like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we could do, I could be like the ladies man. I have my cavatier, but me one or the other. Mm-hmm. Oh, anyway.
Yes. Anyway.
But besides having broken toes and wounded pride, your week is going okay?
Of all the weeks I've ever had, it's one of them.
I understand. Mm-hmm. I really do. I understand that. Better than you know. Uh-huh. You know not of what you speak. Oh, I do. I do. Well, we've got a great show lined up tonight. Yep. A very interesting show and very, very off-center for us, if we have a center. Do we have a center?
We really don't have a center.
I didn't think we did.
No.
I didn't think we did.
We're a little ADD in our categories.
We do. I was going to say we have a center, S-I-N-N-E-R, but I don't think we have a center, C-E-N-T-E-R.
True. Very true.
So.
I can't help but feel that we're a little subdued this evening. You going to make it? You going to be okay?
No.
Okay.
But I'll be okay. I'm trucking right along.
Okay,
right there.
Good.
Right there.
We have somebody's in chat. Oh no, Wendy broke. Yes. Yes,
you
Carly.
broke the fourth one? No. Hey, Carly. Oh, speaking of, we should give a shout out to our sister shows.
Yes, definitely.
While we're doing that very quickly, because we've got Crimson Cloak Publishing Radio with Carly McCracken, and very impressed. I looked at her website for her publishing company. She has some amazing titles. She's just got a lot of books. I was very impressed with the not only the number of authors, but the quality of the authors.
Yes. Well, and if you listen to her show on Tuesday, excuse me, sometimes morning, sometimes afternoon, sometimes a combination. It's on our network, so you can find her there under Crimson Cloak Publishing. But her guests are so interesting and so knowledgeable, and just and like the cowboy dude. From California, but the cowboy dude the other day, he was just amazing. So much fun.
She does have some very interesting guests. I liked the two older women that were doing the stitching. Stamford Bridge tapestry. They call that tapestry. They do it tapestry. Yes, tapestry. Mm-hmm. Well, they're British.
True. Yes.
They pronounce it aluminum, too, not aluminum.
All right. Well, and oregano is oregano.
And they pronounce it herb, not herb.
True, yes. The H is there.
The H is there. So,
right.
That's one of my favorite comedians is a British transvestite comedian, Eddie Izzard.
I've seen him. He's hilarious.
He's hilarious, and he does that the whole difference in pronunciation. And he does that one skit. He's like, "You say aluminum, we say aluminium. You say herb, we say herb, we say herb because there's an effing H in it." And so, okay, point well taken. But that was a very interesting show, but I have been very impressed with what I've seen at Crimson Cloak Publishing. And they asked me, I did their intro, I did their disclaimer. Mm-hmm. I helped Carly with a little legal document that she needed for her program. So it's been fun working with her, getting to know her. And then of course we have Square One. And David Haslam of HMSI Publishing out of Detroit, Michigan. Actually, I think it's more Ann Arbor than it's Detroit. But he's come on. He's on hiatus right now. He's had a lot of health problems. We wish him the best. Hope him a speedy recovery. and can't wait to have him and his program back on. He's bringing a new host or co-host when he comes back. I talked to him this week, as a matter of fact.
Okay,
so we give a shout out to both of our sister programmings here on the Mystic Moon Mafia Network.
Yes,
indeed. So my mood is slowly improving.
Well, of course, you're talking to me. How could it not?
Yeah, it has absolutely nothing to do with the 2 shots of whiskey and the 2 beers I've had already. Okay.
You damn
That's
Alfie.
fine.
Good
That's
Lord.
Fine. That's fine. You take all the credit for it. That's great.
Well, I bring you out of your own head, so.
Don't do that. Don't bring me out of my head. So we've got a song. We're going to get our guest on tonight. What song are we playing?
I believe we'll play "Turn It Up" by Shaman's Harvest. Just because we can.
You like Shaman's Harvest quite a bit, don't you?
I do. They're fun. They're just so much fun.
They are very fun. That is very true.
I haven't been able to get in touch with them yet to get official permission, but they're pretty cool about it all. I think.
I think. Well, you're giving exposure. They're getting, and who doesn't like exposure? Who doesn't like being exposed?
I'm not going there, Travis.
I'm just saying.
All righty, yes, I will play the song. Get Luke on the line, and Travis will talk to him, and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
Just here in a few minutes.
Sounds good. Okay. Shaman's Harvest and Turn It Up.
Turn it up.
Turn your radio up, everybody around. Never tap your right into that bang your head sound. Bring it off, no need for aggravation. Wake up, little girl, I need you now. I'm looking for a one-on-one relationship. Yeah.
Alrighty, Shaman's Harvest, turn it up. Tonight, I'll go ahead and do the quick intro, bio, what have you, on Luke Daniels. He's a voice actor, and he is our honored guest this evening. Luke was born into a family of actors. Both his father and mother have been performing and teaching in the theater for almost 5 decades. It was because of their influence that, from a very young age, Luke and his 2 brothers often found themselves spending countless hours in rehearsal halls across the country. This early exposure and backstage pass into the creation of innumerable productions fostered a deep love of storytelling in Luke that can be heard in his wide-ranging audiobook work today. Luke has narrated over 450 audiobooks. A listener favorite, he has been the grateful recipient of 13 Audible Earphones Awards, 4 Audie nominations, as well as Audible's 2012 Narrator of the Year Award. Luke is well known for his imaginative storytelling and dynamic characterizations, which create an immersive listening experience for his audience. Luke's vast repertoire of work ranges from Kerouac to Updike, Nora Roberts to Stephen King, Michael Crichton to Phillip K. Dick. Sorry. His background is in classical theater and film. He has performed at repertory theaters around the country, but now produces from his home studio in the Midwest, where he resides with his pack. All right. Well, hi, guys.
Hi there.
Hey, Wendy.
Hi, Travis. Hi, Luke.
Oh.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I've been excited about this all day. I've been recording in the studio, and now I get to talk to somebody that's talking back instead of myself, which is always nice. Mm-hmm. You know, when it's not, when I can know for sure it's not just my own imagination talking back to me.
I run into that myself a lot. Having mostly dogs around me.
Yeah, I got one.
Hey,
what do you,
I resent that.
Oh, there we go.
I absolutely resent that. That is just mean and hurtful.
It's a term of endearment from where I come from.
Yes,
I have
exactly.
a dog, and I love my dog, so dogs are great.
Yes, they are. Unless they set booby traps on the stairs that Wendy slips in and breaks toes.
Would that be a poopy booby trap, or would that be like a toy booby trap?
It was actually a tinkle booby trap on some slick plastic that I did not see.
Yeah. That's like black ice. You got to be careful.
It was like black ice.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, are you okay?
Oh, yeah. Just a broken toe and another purple one, and but it's all good. It was just yesterday, though.
Oh, my God. You broke your toe yesterday?
Uh-huh.
And you're soldiering through for our interview? I'm very impressed,
trying.
Wendy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, I've got the chat open, so I don't have my sound effects up. Sorry. Yeah. Applause and stuff, you know.
Applause. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you deserve some. Good for you. Well, I'm sorry you took a tumble.
It was, yeah. Of course, there was no one around to see, and drove myself to the hospital, but that's okay, too, right?
Oh, man, you're tough.
Know.
You're tough.
Am.
I would have definitely been crying and calling somebody. When it comes to pain, I am such a baby. I think all guys are, really.
I've noticed that. I really have.
Have you picked up on that?
I did pick up on that, yes.
Yeah. We don't hide it very well.
No, not really. But that's okay, because I guess I'm supposed to be the soft one and comfort, but you know, that's just not really in my own nature very well these days.
No, you're ready to move, and let's just get on with it.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, suck it up and let's go.
Let's go. Quit your whining.
What's wrong with you?
Right. Well, I have a 13-year-old, so whining is its whole art form.
Oh, dear. Travis has one of those, too, I think.
I have a 14-year-old, and then I have a one who will be 13. My daughter will be 13 in July. So, yes.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah, I don't remember asking to be invited to this party.
Oh, no, it's not one of those. It's more like a hijack. You just get pulled into the van.
It really was, which pretty much is my life saga right now, which I see is being hijacked, and It's
you've heard of like Get Into the Van. Your memoir could be Pulled Into the Van.
Pulled into the van, yes. Jerked into the van.
Yeah.
Maybe dragged behind the van with a choke chain.
Dragged under the van.
There are
thrown
days,
under the van. Yeah, there's all sorts of ways.
There are days that it feels like that.
Oh, that's great.
Now, I was going to finish the conversation that you and I had started before Wendy rudely interrupted us and brought us live.
I'm known for that. Sorry.
We
were so engaged, Wendy. It was intense. He was in tears. Like I was like, "Wow, I just met you."
I was.
It's all right. I have that effect on people.
Yep. Well, you're from Kansas. It's expected, right?
Well, what I discovered is that Luke is actually in Michigan. One of our sister programs, David Haslam in HMSI Publishing, has a program out of Detroit. Actually,
no kidding.
And he's on our platform. But you were just in Virginia. You were just in Charlottesville.
I was. I made the drive down from Michigan. We drove. We chose to drive because I will always choose to drive if I can. I find it more enjoyable. But we had a great time. I stayed for about 3 days. Never been to Charlottesville. We went to Thomas Jefferson's house. We went to Monticello. Did the little tourist thing. And then the rest of the time we just spent enjoying food and libations. And I tell you what, I was very impressed with the coffee in Charlottesville. I know that sounds strange, but the few places we would get coffee at, and we tried a couple different places, they had some darn good coffee. So I that means a lot. It goes a long way.
It does. I'm a very simple man when it comes to my coffee. I'm a Folgers. I don't like Starbucks. I like Folgers. I like Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Good
and that's
for you.
That's pretty much it. Those are my two.
Simple
Other than
man,
that,
simple taste.
Very simple taste when it comes to my coffee.
I just made this observation the other day about coffee. I just reached the stage where I actually drink black coffee and enjoy it. I don't just say it or pretend because it seems like the right thing to do. But I now can drink black coffee and be like, if it's good coffee and I've made it, because I'm like the opposite of you. I'm a bit of a coffee snob.
Okay.
Very little, but I just enjoy it. I enjoy the process, so I get into it. I've just started like steaming milk and trying that whole thing, but then I'll do that for the first cup, and then afterwards, just in case your viewers or listeners aren't asleep at this point, but after he's talking about his coffee routine. What? Oh my God. But then I'll go to the black. And the other day I was like, you know what? I'm enjoying. I think I've finally become an adult. I'm finally a man. I can drink black coffee and be like, that's good coffee. I like it.
It's funny that you mentioned that because at the radio stations where I manage, when I went there about 18 months ago, I and the office manager were the only two that drank coffee. And I was actually bringing my coffee in a thermos, and I was drinking it black. And she was making coffee there in this old, decrepit bun coffee maker. And she was always buying creamer, different flavored creamers and things like that. So I started drinking the coffee there, and we would drink the creamers. Well, now basically we have infected all of the other radio employees so that they're all drinking coffee throughout their board shift and when they're working. And I've told them all, I said, and only one of them really wants to be in broadcasting. The others are kind of part-time college students, that sort of thing. But I said, if you are going to go into any type of media, you need to understand that an addiction is a must. It's either caffeine, nicotine, or fill in the blank. I said, but you do not do this type of job without having that. You have to be up early, you stay up late. You have to always be up and energetic and jacked up and out of your mind and friendly and outgoing, and that's just not always possible. So you have to kind of get to the point where that you just embrace it. And they all made fun of me when I said that. But as they have been there, and as they have worked extended shifts, and they've worked weird shifts, and they've had to do all these things, they really have. We go through coffee like crazy. They go through the coffee creamers now. We keep like 3 or 4 different flavors in the refrigerator. So it's.
And that's not cheap. The coffee creamers, then they get, I started to get where I would drink it and it just made me sick. So I've had to now I'll just use like a very just regular half and half, just a little bit, and then fluff that up if I do use it. And I only have it in the morning. And then for the rest of the day, I sound like I'm 80 years old. The rest of the day, I wanted black coffee, and then I'm starting to get that,
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was going. Is I will drink the creamer, 3 to 4 days a week. But there's one day out of the week I just really like sitting drinking black coffee.
Yeah,
it's just after a while the creamer's too much, the sugar is too much, and you're right, it does get expensive. I mean, you're talking. The creamers, like $4 to $5 a bottle. We buy 2 or 3 at a time, and we go through them in like a week. All 3 of them are gone in like a week, and so we're buying them again. So
it becomes like, do you want some coffee with your creamer?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, there's a rite of passage. I remember I worked in retail starting out in my young 20 years, and that's how I started drinking coffee, because we would always have it there, and it was the only thing, it was a break, or it was a chance to just I'm having some coffee or doing something, it's a rite of passage of, you're in the shit now. Coffee's the thing that makes it better.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, Wendy mentioned in your introduction, you are now, do you prefer the term voice actor? Do you prefer, what?
I like talk monkey.
Talk monkey. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. We were when I was working in studios when I started out for audiobooks. So I predominantly I consider myself in my heart as a actor, and then I make my money performing audiobooks, and I tend to like saying performing as opposed to narrating, because I do feel like it's a bit more of a performance than a narration. So if I'm being particular, those are the terms I use, but it's really just talk monkey. I have these words, and I need to say them, and I need to tell a story. And when I worked when I started out, I was in a studio where we had an engineer and we had a director, and now the process is much different. You sit by yourself and do those 3 jobs of performing and engineering the audio, and then also directing yourself. So it's a different beast now entirely.
How did you find your way into this particular talk monkey role?
Yeah, I was approached by aliens. They were very, they took me in their ship and they said, "This is a great idea." And I said, "That sounds great." No, I always try and come up with something different because it's more mundane than that. Well, I spent a lot of time, like Wendy so graciously went through that entire litany of my past. I spent a lot of time in the theater, so I was always around storytelling. It was a huge part of my upbringing. So that kind of keyed me into that desire or process to tell stories, to be a part of that somehow, whether it was in a play or in a movie or in any sort of medium. And then the audiobooks came about because I grew up in Michigan, and there's a company in Michigan called Brilliance Audio. They're actually owned by Amazon now, but they're one of the innovators in the industry, in that they were around back in the days when it was tape and it'd say, "Please turn to side 2." And you'd have to turn the tape over.
I remember those.
Actually, one of the big boons for audiobooks back in the 80s and 90s was the owner of Brilliance came up with the technology. I don't know the specifics, but he did something that dealt with the ability to double-side your tape so that you would have more content on one tape. And that helped them to kind of catapult into a small company that then was kind of producing a ton of audiobooks. And they transitioned into producing a lot of physical format audiobooks, which means like the stuff you actually get at the library, or you get the hard copy, as opposed to downloading from Audible or Downpour or any other digital site. So now there's a split, and much more things are digital download. And with that process came a switch from using traditional studios, directors, engineers, to having people self-produce from home studios, because everything can be done kind of relatively simply and get a good product. So I started out in the studio system working for that Brilliance company because I was from Michigan. I had gotten my degree in acting from Western Michigan, and then I'd gone on to a graduate degree in performance from the University of Connecticut. I'd worked in some different theaters and around the country, and I was really looking for a way to make money telling stories but not have to live the vagabond Pinocchio lifestyle. So I auditioned by sending a demo into Brilliance, and I was very, very lucky for two reasons. One being my brother, older brother, about by 10 years, was an actor too. Like I said, we were all kind of in it. He had recorded audiobooks back in those days when it was tape, reel to reel. And so he worked for Brilliance, and he gave my name to their casting people as a recommendation. So I sent in my demo, and then I went up there, and it was only about an hour from where I'd grown up. And so I was able to start working there. And over the first few years, I worked there sporadically, and increasingly so as I was able to kind of get a little better and learn the business a little bit. So they really gave me my start. And there was one casting director in particular named Nora Roberts, who is the one that kind of plucked me from obscurity, as I say, and gave me a shot. And if I listen back, the first stuff, it's rough. I was young and I really tried, and it was good, but there was a lot of that technique that I think comes with just doing it. So I was really, really lucky in a lot of ways in that I got into a studio environment where I could practice with professionals who had done this before. Nowadays, people starting out are kind of learning on their own, and they can take classes, and they can, hire tutors and coaches and things like that, and those are all good. But I was very lucky because I was in a system where I was learning from everybody else, and then I was doing a lot on my own, listening. And so I kind of climbed up through the ranks there, and that's how I branched out. From once I started with Brilliance, then I realized you got to, develop your stable, so to speak. And so I developed relationships with other producers to do other publishing for different companies. And then I built my own home studio, and then I still work for Brilliance. I go there once a month just because I love being able to go somewhere and work with people. It makes me feel like I'm not living in a computer program, just talking to a microphone in a dark room by myself. So I've been really fortunate. And needless to say, that was a long way around, but yeah, that's how it kind of started. That's
what Wendy and I do every Wednesday night. We sit in dark rooms, we put our microphones in front of us, and we just kind of talk.
Yeah.
That's what this show is. Now, you mentioned something briefly, and it's on the list of questions that I had wanted to ask you, so I'm going to go ahead and ask it just because you've already mentioned it. That is that you use the term performing rather than narrating. Mm-hmm. So my question to you is, as a talk monkey, do you, when you're recording, do you actually act out these roles?
Yeah.
Or are you just recording?
No, it's much more of a performance in their scene. Now, it depends on the book that you have, because if you're doing a nonfiction book, then you're telling a story, but it's got more information. That's a different beast. If you're telling a fiction book that's a novel that's got an arc and a story and characters, I go whole hog and want to be as much inhabited of those. And I come from a lot of training where it's I'm facile with an ability to switch between people and still remain in the scene as opposed to an affectation. So that it's more about the character's intention in playing the scene, and then what comes out of that is a different voice or personality, and then the technical side of it is, making sure it's distinct so that the listener is I basically want to hand them the story on a silver platter. And with an audiobook, you really have that ability. You're literally delivering it like a shot right into their brain. So I really like the ability to create that world in your mind. And what's interesting is how it can translate from what I'm seeing in my mind to what comes out as what's performed. And then you're hearing it, interpreting it through your experiences, and seeing a picture in your mind that may be completely different. But I try to have as clear of a visual in my mind of what I'm seeing, and then I perform that, and then, you know, what you get is what you get. And some people take it and it may work, and some people take it and it may miss the mark. But that's how I remain as true to the process that I can, is that try to tell the story, and then at the same time, I just can't help with the training and stuff that I have of each scene. There's different characters. They have intentions. They have desires. They have things they need. So I just kind of naturally pick up on what that is. And then, you know, from what the author gives you, I mean, that's what the whole source of it is, and try to kind of channel it. And I think just through experience and doing so many books, you know, it's kind of, you get in a flow a lot of times. That's why I like working in a studio, because I have other people. When I'm doing it myself, when I make a mistake or stop and have to pick up and fix it and that kind of stuff, it takes you out of that flow. And it's much easier to kind of find that flow when you have somebody else kind of taking care of that, and you can just focus in on the rhythm of how that story is being told.
Now, and I think I probably know the answer to this question, but I want to ask it anyway, just because I'm, you know, that hell, it's what
You're
the show's about.
way.
I'm just that way. Yeah. When you're recording, as you mentioned, a work of fiction, and you've got multiple characters and there's dialogue, do you record each character's dialogue separately and then allow the editing to
No.
put that, or do you bounce back and forth from character to character?
No, you have to go back and forth. That editing way, it would just take way too long. You would never get anything done. So I like to think that I have, you know, about 50 or so people living inside me, and then those just kind of take over and go back and forth. I think it's why I like the challenge, because as an actor, I was, you know, always selfish and wanted to be doing all the parts. So it's really an opportunity to play all the parts. But it is, you're creating a whole world. I think that's what's incredible about it, is it's singular, which is, you know, so different from a theater, which is done in the collective and having a group, and that's its own incredible process. But with an audiobook, it's so singular. You have one person's vision that's the author, and then you have the narrator performer who's their vision, and then you have the listeners. So it's a much more pared down process. Even with a movie, you've got, thousands of people working on the movie to tell that story. So it's really up to the author to create the story, and then up to us as narrators to perform it. And so it's a very unique process. And I think it's intriguing to people. And when they that's why I think when people find someone they like listening to, they really follow up on them, because they've clicked into somebody who can tell a story in a way that they respond to. Not everybody responds the same way to storytellers, you know, and some people have people they like and other people like different people. So audiobooks are great in that there's thousands of storytellers out there. People can find the one they want the best, or they like the best.
It's funny. I, for a couple of years, was an account executive for a large company called Icon Office Solutions, and I had about a 1,400 square mile territory. So I listened to a lot of audiobooks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because you drove. Yeah,
I was constantly driving. And
thank you.
Yes.
It's people like you who made this a career.
I was constantly... that windshield time really, really weighs in. And I do a lot of driving now. I live in Virginia, work in Kentucky. I do 3 hours round trip. I do an hour and 40.
No kidding.
An hour and 40 to the station, an hour and 40 back. The problem is I can't not listen to my radio station because I'm the manager. So I'm constantly monitoring both the AM and the FM station to make sure that everything is running the way that it's supposed to. That is problematic.
Especially I can see that.
Especially when we're a top 40 station, so we play, the same 40 damn songs over and over again. And it's like, oh my God! If I hear Adele's "Hello" one more time, I'm going to say goodbye. If I hear, I'm 41 years old and I'm sitting here going, why the hell do I like Bruno Mars? Why am I really getting into this very
it's his infectious, it's his like joie de vivre, man. That guy is just, He loves what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so nice to hear somebody like what they're doing. I think that's a big part of it. He just seems to really enjoy what he's doing and not be doing it for any other reason than that's who he is.
He does. And that man can move like water.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
He is just so fluid. But I don't get to listen to audiobooks as much as I used to, but I did listen to them a lot. And you're right. You know, there were some audiobooks, you know, I would put in and I would start listening to, and I'm like, God, I cannot listen to this, because the actor, the narrator, was doing just that. They were narrating. They weren't acting. They weren't putting themselves into it.
Mm-hmm. That's called a straight read too. And
yes,
it used to be that way much more back in, I would say even just 5 years ago. But when I started to come in the scene, which is about 10 years ago, that was kind of starting to, I just noticed from listening and stuff, like I really wanted to hear that distinction. I really wanted it to be handed to me on a plate so that I could enjoy it without having to be like, who's talking? What's happening? I didn't want to work so hard. I wanted the story just given to me, which sounds lazy, but at the same time, I could enjoy it more because I wasn't, you know, trying to keep up with it. And we're always doing other things while we listen. Nobody just sits in a chair and listens to the book. I mean, some people probably do, holding a pillow with my face on it. But otherwise, I think mostly that people like are doing other tasks. So you have to help them out a little bit by engaging the story in a way that is dynamic and actionable and listenable.
Yep.
And one of the first actor, and it's actually an actor who was narrating, Edward Herman, who passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
He did, and I can't remember the name of the author. Caleb Carr is the author. Caleb Carr. He did The Alienist and The Angel of Death. And Herman did all of the characters, male and female. Yeah. And he did all the characters, and he acted the whole thing out, and it was probably the most enjoyable audiobook, because I had actually read The Alienist physically. Yeah. And then listened to the audiobook while I was driving, and then The Angel of Death, the sequel, I didn't read that book. I actually just listened to the audiobook, and again, it was unabridged, and it was an amazing read. And then I got into the Harry Potter books, and I can't remember I forgot the
There's two.
Yes.
There's Dick Dale, and there's Stephen Fry.
Yes.
Stephen Fry.
Yeah, the Dick Dale.
He's the main one.
Doing the Harry Potter. And to, you know, I am very old school, and I love to hold a book. I love to read a book. I love that. Because, you know, that is, and as far as I'm concerned, that is the origins of virtual reality. You get to put that book in front of your eyes, and you get to immerse yourself into that, and it's a whole new world that you're creating for yourself.
I like that. I agree.
Your imagination is doing it. But it's not safe to do that and drive, obviously. So audiobooks become that second way of immersing you, and you really do rely on the actor to grab you and jerk you into that world. And you know, I've listened to the samplings that you have. You seem to do that. You have this ability to be these different characters. I listened to your roll call where you go through all of these characters.
Oh, I just did that for the new book for Scott Myers. Yeah,
and it's great to hear you go through and just bounce back and forth from character to character. So it's interesting. It's very interesting, you know, to me, having listened to so many of those, to now hear that, you know, because, you know, I came out of broadcasting, as we were talking earlier. I started out in radio as a DJ and worked my way into sales, and then into advertising, actually then to television sales, and then to advertising and PR. And so I've done editing, I've done voice work. I don't voice act. I just, like you were mentioning, straight reads. I do commercials, I do voiceover, I do, you know, marketing videos, those types of things. But I know what it's like to edit. I did it yesterday. I did, I think, 12 or 15 commercials for the radio station yesterday, and then going through and editing and splicing and making things match up, and then the music bed and all of that. And there's so many different ways. Some audiobooks, it is. Some audiobooks use sound effects. Some audiobooks use a music bed. They set the tone and things like that.
Yeah, so I think the music too is interesting because it's something that in the industry, people that are in the industry kind of give the shivers when people talk about sound effects because it's a whole beast that enters into the radio drama territory. And there's that constant question of what's radio drama versus what's just an audiobook, and are they the same thing? Should they be the same thing? Is there crossover? And I've heard things that use music really effectively, and I've heard things that it's a distraction. So I think it's an interesting way to enhance, but it's also a difficult thing to use. But nowadays people are using it more and more. I mean, you see this thing, I can't remember the name of it, but they do like comic books and they use lots of sound effects and stuff, and that's really cool. I've listened to a couple things that are like podcasts like that, where they're telling a continuing story and they're using it, but that's much more like radio drama, which is super cool. And I think it's that, again, you're getting into the collective versus the singular, and one person telling the story versus when you start to have the sound effects, you need more people. Like you said, you're working on that stuff the other day, trying to cut and paste it together. It needs to be a collective process to have something like that work. If it was me sitting there and being like, oh, now I'm going to bring the music, it would take me 6 months and it would sound awesome. It would be an amazing audiobook, but I'd produce one audiobook in 6 months and it would be not, I couldn't live. But I totally get that. I've wanted to use that for so long. I've thought, it'd be so cool to do something a little more immersive like that.
So, yeah, you mentioned, kind of like the way the BBC does their productions. We don't really do that in America anymore. I mean, you have NPR does a few, and actually we were going to, back in October, Wendy and I had this plan. I'm not going to say what we were going to do, but we were actually going to do a live production on the radio. And Wendy, I think we need to do that this year.
Well,
I really think I think we do need to.
And possibly invite our guests.
Yes, we were. As a matter of fact,
you were.
We said October, didn't we? And
that was the giveaway.
You know what's funny about that is I had a guy call me who's an engineer and he works for a radio station as well, and he called me up one year, I think it was like a year ago, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm totally gonna do this thing in October. We're gonna do War of the Worlds." He totally did the same thing. Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great, dude. Let's do that." And he's like, "Would you be part of it?" And I was like, "Totally, let's do that." And then, it was like a year later, and I was like, I don't think that's happening.
Well, we actually went on hiatus in October and finished out the year. We didn't do any productions.
Yeah.
We didn't do any shows. Yeah, life kept happening, yes. My responsibilities at the radio station got more and more tedious.
There's no break. There's no rest for the weary.
There isn't. I was telling Wendy, where I am the manager, and you go to the station's website, and I'm listed as the director of operations. The owner's there, but of course the owner's smart enough not to have his cell phone number on there. They put my cell phone number on the damn website.
Oh, okay.
So Sunday morning at 8:00, I'm getting phone calls from irate pastors because while we are a top 40 rock station, ever since the FM station has been on the air, Sunday morning has been church programming, and we still do that from 6 a.m. to noon. We do religious programming. Yep. And the girl who was working Sunday was not a Sunday employee. She hadn't done this, and the entire schedule was screwed up. So I had irate pastors calling me, yelling, wanting to know why their church wasn't. And it really made me long for the days of the lions in the Coliseum. It really kind of did.
I can hear you. That reminds me. Once upon a time, one of my many jobs, I worked in a TV station that was a Christian station, and I worked Sunday mornings changing over the tapes from the programming to the next programming, and I'd work from 6 until 9 just to pick up a few extra bucks. Mm-hmm. And I would fall asleep in my chair, and I would wake up, and the screen would be static, and I'd have the phone ringing, and it would be the head guy saying, "What the hell are you doing? There's nothing on." Mm-hmm. Yep. I'd fallen asleep.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Apparently, years ago, there was a guy who worked that shift. He worked the Sunday morning shift, and his thing was, and the station has, the layout of the station has changed, but at that time, the entrance was at the opposite end of where it is now. And so then we have a love seat couch thing, and he would take that love seat and put it as close as he could to the studio, which was also close to the front door. But he would take back when commercials, if you came out of broadcasting, commercials used to be on carts, 8-track carts. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And he would take one of those and he would put it on the handle of the door. So if anybody came in, it would hit the floor and make that bang sound and wake him up.
The things we do.
And we've all done that. I mean, we have all done that in radio, especially when we work that Sunday morning shift. We have to be there at 5:30 for things to go live at 6. And you've been out Saturday night making it a Saturday night. And then you have to crawl in and come in and do that. So, yeah, we've all been there. We've all done that.
We can come full circle back to the coffee. Once again,
the coffee. But now I'm the person calling, what the hell? Why did you not have this program?
What's nothing on? Yeah, you missed it.
This program, you know. And so then, you know, you become the bad guy and yell at people and make people cry. And it's the end of the semester, so all my college students are stressed out because they're doing their finals and they're trying to get past college. And here I am yelling at them because they're not doing their damn job when they should be. And I'm like, you know, this isn't rocket science, people. You have to sit, you have to watch a computer screen, you have to listen. That's what you have to do. Make sure this plays when it's supposed to play. Make sure this happens. This is what we have to do. So.
Yeah,
anyway,
speaking from experience, there's really not much whinier than college kids. And I mean experience in my own, I was a college kid, so I know.
Exactly. I mean, but it's
I was the worst of them all.
Mm-hmm.
One of my employees is actually in cosmetology school, and she comes in stressed out of her mind all the time. And I'm like, how in the hell can you be stressed in cosmetology?
Oh, man, that shit's intense.
Well, that's what she says.
You got it. Yeah, you mess up somebody's hair. Holy crap.
I told her, I said, you know, I see you having a bad day, cutting somebody's hair, and then like slitting their throat with the scissors and then just walking out. That's what I see because she can. But I said this, and this was me being the insensitive person that I am. She comes in, she's going on and on about this horrible day. She's stressed out. I mean, she's like shaking, smoking a cigarette, and I'm like, what the hell could be so stressful that you're late for work and you're like this? And she just like bursts into tears. She's like, I was cutting this old woman's hair. She had a stroke.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like,
whoopsie.
oh.
And you're like, well, that's not so bad. And then she's like, but she was looking in the mirror at what I'd done.
It's like, okay. You take the day off. You know, I'll find somebody to cover for you.
Oh my God. That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Old Martha went out the way she wanted to, getting her hair did.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's terrible. Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry, Martha.
Sorry, Martha, please forgive me.
That's just bad. It really is.
One of our listeners in the chat room, Carly McCracken, once again our friend in St. Louis, she says, you've got a great voice, Luke. She didn't say anything about Travis.
Well, she's got a great name.
Yeah, she really does, right? Release the crack.
That sounds like a character name from a book.
I know, right? But her publishing company does audiobooks, and do you have any advice for authors trying to do their own audiobooks?
Meaning read their own or publish
their own? Yes. Read
Probably read their own.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the simplest instructions for anybody that's reading it is slow down and remember to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're reading, the tendency when you're new, and you can go listen to my books and hear me doing it, and you can hear it now. I still do it. I have to watch myself. But is to pick up speed as you're going to get to the end of the sentence, and then you get out of breath, and it's that kind of thing. You know what I mean? That you're trying to go to the thing. So it's more about taking the time. So you don't want everything to have that same kind of monotone where it's up and down, and then you're driving into a wall because you fall asleep at the wheel. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, breathe, trust that you're going to get through to the end of the sentence, trust what you're saying. A lot of it is confidence. A lot of it is walking in and being like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep pushing. I made a mistake. I keep saying that word wrong. Everybody is listening and thinking I'm a complete a-hole, but I'm going to keep going. You know, it's perseverance. I'm sure if you write a book, then you're well-versed in perseverance. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a common trait that they can draw on. But it's tough. And I think a lot of times for newbies, is simpler is better. You know what I mean? So you're just trying to tell the story, dynamic characterizations, taking on huge accents that you're not comfortable with, things like that. Don't worry about it. Just tell the story. And you can go back and forth and do just a straight read and be just as engaging as if you're doing, a Scottish brogue with a, English accent mixed in with Irish and, all that kind of more difficult stuff. And then in the end of the day is, do you really want to do it? Like, it's your story and you want it to be told, but are you the best person to do it? And some people, I always heard there's a guy who's Jeffrey K. for, I think other people have said it, but go lock yourself in a room for 3 hours, read aloud for 3 hours in a dark room, and then, come out, take a break, and then go back in and do it for 3 more hours aloud, and then take a break, and then see, like, am I pulling my hair out, or am I, like, really into it? Because I think there's a lot of people that just naturally really get it and like it, and they fall into it, and they're able to do it really well. And other people that it's just not their bag, and that's okay. But as an author, you have a certain ownership, and I think it's hard to let that go. It's hard to give that away to somebody else that you don't know, that you may find online through some website. You know what I mean? It's a risky proposition, and I totally get it. So if I did my own book, if I wrote a book, I would want to narrate it. Mm-hmm. So I get wanting to do it. I think listen to other books too. Listen to other audiobooks, and then you can kind of see how it's done. Any sort of thing that you do on your own, research, use your gut. People are smart. They'll figure it out. I'm done.
Hopefully so. Okay, now I have to backtrack a little bit because Carly says that, yes, Travis has a lovely voice as well, and that I should tell him because I wasn't going to tell him. And yeah, right. And right. She said, tell him, it'll help his mood. So, Travis, are you happier now?
No, my mood is still pretty much the same. But thank you, Carly.
I think he's actually gotten worse. I think that didn't help.
My mood has decreased. My mood has actually declined. My mood has diminished.
I think talking about college kids is what did it. It really kind of got you down in the dumps, and you're like, God dang it, these college kids.
Well, it's funny. One of my board operators, because we don't call them DJs anymore, because for some reason that is politically incorrect, and I haven't quite figured out which group we are being insisted towards.
It's rude to horse jockeys.
That was what I was thinking. Short horse jockeys, midgets.
They don't like it.
We know that I have this thing with midgets. There's always a comment about midgets on this show at some point in time.
I think it's because they always get slipped discs from leaning over their horse. And so, like, a derogative term for horse racing is a disc jockey, because he's got a shitty back and he can't lean over his horse.
I think you're absolutely right. Okay, so my mood is increasing a little bit, not a whole lot, but it is improving.
I'm bringing you back from the brink.
You're bringing me back.
You're a lifesaver.
The abyss that I'm standing, the precipice that I'm standing on, as it were, of fluctuating from good mood, bad mood, negative mood, shitty mood, angry mood, just mood in general. So we should call it Mystic Mood Cafe. That's what we should do. We should change the name.
Oh, you could do that like once a month, and it's just like your moody time. It's like your Travis's period. It's like your mood. It's the lunar cycle still, so it's still the moon. Mm-hmm. And I'm menstruating. So there you just bitch the whole time about shit that bothers you.
There you go. Might as well.
Yeah. That sounds pretty good. I'd listen.
I think you should. Everyone should.
I think I will.
Everyone should listen. Or actually, no one should, as a matter of fact. So,
that's great.
I have a question. As we have digressed, as we often do. We talk tonight. We do not have a center for this program.
That's good.
So we've never gone off center because we don't have one. We just digressed. Mm-hmm. We were talking about performing. And Carly, I think, brought up a very good point. And by the way, Wendy, Bill Bean has just released his first audiobook version of 10 Steps to Victory. That was one of the things he told me about today. Bill, who's going to be our guest in 2 weeks, has a book called 10 Steps to Victory. And
is it recorded like the Texas 10 Step or anything like that? Will it be
It's like Texas Hold'em. It's like Texas Hold'em.
Texas Hold'em.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So, but he did release his first audiobook, and he did it himself. And I think Carly does bring, because I've worked with self-published authors. I did their publicity for several years. I have no idea what that was. Oh, my Outlook account settings are out of date, apparently. I'm being notified. I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but I got this great little, like, Tinkerbell crashed into my computer monitor screen.
Damn it, Jake.
But I think a lot of authors, do want to see their books go from printed to audio to film. I mean, that's kind of the natural progression and the natural evolution. When you're an author, you have these goals, hashtag that you want to see. As you go into the studio, your studio, and I actually have two questions, but I'm not going to ask them in order. How is voice acting different than visual acting, or is it at all?
Oh, sure. It's very different. I mean, they're cousins. They draw on the same style, the same kind of idea of, like I was saying before, intentions and, what do you want? What do you need? Scenes and storytelling. But they're very different. Just like in stage versus film, you have, you got to reach the back of the house. So you're going to project in a different way than if you're in a bedroom scene in a film where it's all kind of under, very low. So there's lots of technique things that I think are different. I think the essence of acting, of performing, of storytelling remains the same. You got to engage the audience. You've got to find the action. You've got to keep pushing through so that there's a through line, there's a rising action and all that. So all that remains the same. And then there's just subtle technical shifts. So versus if I'm in a Shakespeare play, you're going to handle the dialogue different than if you're in a Mamet play, just as you're going to handle, I'm going to handle a speech in a audiobook different because I've got a microphone 3 inches from my face. So the technical side is what changes, but the instinct, the overall general kind of goal, those all remain the same.
What about direction? You talked before that you came out of kind of, the studio setting where that you were, sometimes you would have a director telling you, and now you're doing it yourself. So what do you find to be easier, or is there such thing as easier, or is it just different?
Easier being like a book that's easier, or
the process of having a third party direct you or directing yourself.
I think it's nice having somebody listen. I'll always prefer to have somebody listening because they'll catch things that I make a mistake on. And if they say something I don't agree in, then I can argue my case and then we make the best decision. So I would always err on the side of, well, that's actually a really good question, because now that I'm talking about it, I do want somebody to listen, but I also really revel in the ability to be the director. I've done directing myself, theater and short films, college stuff, that kind of thing. And I really like that. So when it is me doing it, I just have to be careful not to wear the director hat all the time, because then everything's going to sound more intellectual. The director's job is to oversee the whole project. And if you let them handle the subtle nuances of, shifts in a story or things like that, it becomes a little more technical. So it's balancing those two and trying to wear multiple hats and know when to turn one on and turn one off. So a lot of times if it's myself, I'm reading and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, there's that little director in the back of my head that goes, really? Is that what it's going to sound like?
Cut, take two.
You're like, and then I'm like reading a couple lines and it's still in the back of my head like, we're going on, huh? And then, eventually if I'm ready to be like, fuck you, screw you, I'm going on, I'll just burn ahead. But for the most part, I'll after a couple lines, I'll be like, and I'll make a mistake because I'm thinking, I'm already in my head. And so the director stepped in. So that's kind of how it works on my own. And then, with a director, a lot of times they'll just kind of stand out of the way unless you're messing up. And then they'll come in and be like, yeah, it's not pronounced that way. Or, just try and say it this way. I've had directors that are great for that,
So
they're worth their weight in gold.
Well, directors are worth their weight in something. I've produced.
No, literally gold. That's how I've always paid them. Is that not the norm? Oh shit!
Oh, you
It
should.
is.
Yeah,
It
that's
is.
how you
Fool's
normally
gold.
pay them.
Gold doubloons.
Oh, doubloons. Yes. Now, you mentioned that you do like having somebody listen. Do you bring in an audience when you're acting? I mean, do you like bring in wife, kids, or the author, or is the? I mean, I'm thinking doing this in front of the author sometimes would be very, very nerve-wracking.
I don't do it in front of the author, and it is one of those things where you don't want the author to be too involved. You want them to be able to give you the information of what the story is, and that's what they've done in the script. And then if they're wanting to give you extra stuff of, I kind of really saw this guy this way, that's really valuable too. So any input like that, I really value. But then once it's kind of began, you want to kind of just, and I think a lot of authors that I've been really fortunate to deal with have understood this, is it's the same thing as if you sold your book for a movie. It's an interpretation of your book. It is not your book. And I think they get that. That's the easy out, because it's true that they can say, well, that's not how I heard that character. And that's understandable, but at the same time, you're not the one performing it. Just like if, Will Smith gets cast. Oh, I never saw him as that guy. You know what I mean? Well, that's his cast, and let's see what they do with it. That's what the director's vision was.
So you're talking Wild Wild West in particular, with Will Smith being cast.
I was just talking about that the other day. I was just talking about that the other day with my engineer, actually, at Brilliance. I was there, and he was bemoaning how bad it was. And he was saying that Will Smith in movie comedies, never is successful. And I was having a hard time with that, because I was like, but then I couldn't think of one that he'd done, because saved Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but that was a TV. I can't think of a movie.
Men in Black was hugely
Those
successful.
were successful, but I think he was saying they weren't necessarily good movies. Well,
I think that, I always say you have good movies and you have popcorn movies. Popcorn movies are the type of movie that you just sit and it's almost like a visual train wreck. You can't take your eyes off of it, but it's fun as hell to watch. I mean, it's just
MST 3000.
Exactly. Yes, Mystery Science Theater. I love Mystery Science Theater. And if I could get paid to sit and make fun of the movies that they make fun of, because the sad thing is I own the majority of the movies that they do make fun of. They're just I own them on DVD without the little talking heads. Mm-hmm. I just have them because I do like crappy movies. Because sometimes at the end of a day, the best thing in the world to help get rid of everything is a shitty movie and a really good glass of wine.
Now, I agree. Have you watched the reboot on Netflix of Mystery Science Theater?
Oh, yes.
I have not.
I loved it.
Wendy has. I have not.
It's not bad. They've done a good job.
No, it's really not bad at all. Mm-hmm. Now, the movie...
I've only watched one episode, so I can't claim much. But I watched it. I grew up literally when I was a kid. I had my same brother that introduced me to audiobooks, 10 years older. So I was probably 8, and he was probably 17, 18. Mm-hmm. And he would have his friends over, and they would play all sorts of nerdy things, which is a great education for me. They'd play Dungeons and Dragons, and they would watch MST3K. And I would be this 8-year-old watching it with him, and it was so funny. I remember one time literally drinking apple juice and almost choking on it because of some ridiculousness that they had done, and I'll always remember that. That show, it was a great one, yeah. Shitty movies and being able to kind of look at them, they serve a purpose.
They do.
Same with popcorn movies. I love
yes.
this. I'm really there's sometimes where I'm I really need something just not. That's what I want. Not. I just want it not.
Yes.
I just want it to be just something that's not.
I love the white noise. I love that, just putting something on that I don't have to pay attention to. And for me, I fall asleep at night with the the TV going. And basically, it's Netflix. It used to be when it was on Netflix, it was Ancient Aliens with Giorgio Tsoukalos, and I would just I would start with season 1 and let it play through, and I would fall asleep. And the next night, I would pick up whatever the last thing I remembered. Now it's Unsealed the Alien Files, and there's 4 seasons of that. I just started playing at night. I fall asleep to it. I don't have to pay attention to it. I don't want to. I'm interested in it because I do have this, as Wendy knows, I have this thing about aliens, UFOs, extraterrestrials. That is kind of my hobby, my side thing. So
well,
I
have you
just
seen that they're doing a bunch of X-Files audiobooks?
No, I did not see that they were doing the X-Files audiobooks.
Yeah, they are. They just did one with Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny, and then a full cast, kind of a radio drama deal. Yeah,
That's
Audible put it out. Yeah.
Oh, neat.
That is very cool.
Now,
I'm very excited about.
Will you get in on those?
Shit, if somebody said, "Hey, do you want to do it?" I would do it, but
Okay.
I haven't been asked yet. No, but yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We will start an online petition.
Yeah,
There
there
you
you
go.
We'll do this. The
No,
Mystic
Audible
Moon-
Studios have been great. They've started this new thing where they're producing books that are now in audio format first or only. So, for instance, some person will write something that'll just be for audio production. Or, like, for instance, I'm doing a book with them called Fight and Flight, which is part of this Magic 2.0 series I do that's really popular. And it's the 4th book in the series, but they're releasing it for, I think, 30 days, or I don't know, there's some amount of time as just audio, maybe 6 months even. I'd have to look at it. I should know that. Jeez, fail. But they are doing it as like just an audio format to start, which is the first time I've had that done. And he even wrote in the script, the author put certain things that he put in red that I didn't have to read because they were character descriptions of, he said, excitedly, or something like that, where if the performance is right, which he was graciously enough trusting me, that wouldn't need to be said.
Nice. Very nice.
That was the first time I've gotten a script where there's that taken into consideration, the audio of... Now, I have had scripts where I can tell the author is writing with audio in mind, even nods and stuff like that. But this was the first time they've actually taken something out that would be in the print version when someone buys the book 6 months after it's been released in audio.
That sounds handy. Good job, audio. Right?
Well, they are always kind of pushing the envelope, which I think is why they're kind of running strong, in that this industry, even though it's been around for so long, people have had tapes, you talk about it and people, remember. I used to, when I was a kid, get the tapes from Barnes and Noble. They would have these like old radio series on tapes, stuff like that. But now with everyone's phone and smartphones and stuff like that, it's just this wild west of what can you come up with, because people are willing to listen. It's like with you guys in the podcast, the radio shows, stuff like that. People are listening. I think more nowadays than ever, because there's that accessibility. People can just push a button and listen to it while they're driving, instead of having to tune in at a certain time or make a certain schedule or buy the tape.
Mm-hmm. Now, Travis had a list of questions, and he must have gone tinkle. He wanted me to get the next one, so... what is the most difficult part of being a voice actor? Excuse me, jockey, monkey.
Talk monkey.
There we go, thanks.
I think the hardest part for me right now is working from home, which is sounds ideal, and I always thought it was, but it's difficult to be your own boss, to wear all those hats, to be the director and all that. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the difficult part, is maintaining time management. So there's a whole business side to things of getting books, scheduling books, invoicing books, doing fixes for books. That's all the behind the scenes stuff that's apart from just the straight voice acting. That part, sure, I don't have so much issues with. It's more the back end, trying to maintain a business, to sell a product, which is ourselves, as narrators. So that takes a lot of energy and effort. And then in addition to it, you then go in and perform. And as a performer, all I want to do is perform. I don't want to have to do any of the other stuff. You know what I mean? So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You got to try to do both ends of it to be successful. And I've been lucky to be able to do that, but it takes a lot of effort. You have to constantly keep up on it.
Very cool. Now, you worked for a lot of different authors. Do you have a favorite?
No, I would get shot if I was to claim somebody over somebody else. There would be so many broken hearts. I have a lot of favorites. I've been really fortunate to work with people that I would read or would hope to come upon. You know what I mean? I really like working with new authors. I think with the market today, there's a chance to work with people who wouldn't normally get published. And a lot of times you get to kind of discover people. And that's really exciting because they're storytellers and they have something to say and they've got stories to tell. But to give them a platform through the audiobook, sometimes people can get noticed more from their audio than they would from an ebook. And so it's just another part of their kind of getting their stories out there. And so being a part of that is really cool. Obviously, like some of my big ones, Kevin Hearn has been fantastic, and he's really funny, and his books just always are getting better and better, and like he's just never really dropping the ball, you know. So being a part of somebody like that, it feels really special. There's another author named Scott Meyer who does really like the Magic 2.0 series I talked about for Audible, Fight and Flight, that's coming out. That's really, he's got a sense of humor that just clicks with me. It's my kind of sense of humor. It's things that I find funny. So I really enjoy reading his. There's a great sci-fi series. A few of them I do. One for Marco Close, which is Kloos. He's really fantastic. Those are the Frontline series. They're these gritty, futuristic, kind of marine on the battlefront, battle core kind of stuff. Richard Fox does a series called the Ember War series I do that's really funny and exciting, big adventure, aliens, lots of big broad characters, stuff that's real fun to play. I've been really fortunate to do some of my like kind of all-time favorites. Like I did a short story for Stephen King. I did a Michael Crichton book from the 70s. I did Jack Kerouac and Neil Cassidy, which were like two of my all-time favorites. So there's some older ones, and then I've been real lucky to do some new people too. So they're all my favorites.
Marvelous. Right, I actually found you through reading the Iron Druid series by Kevin Hearn. So your Oberon is good. Fantastic. So
well, I have this June, first week of June, I'm starting a new collection of stories for him called Besieged, which I'm real excited about. So I'll need to talk to him in the next couple weeks and start getting some pronunciations, because he likes to fill his books with a lot of ancient languages.
Yeah, I've noticed that, and I went, wow, I wonder how... That's just a bunch of letters together. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Right?
Yes.
A lot of times it feels that way, but he's been super great about helping and giving me a lot of instruction to kind of get me some good, reliable pronunciations and trying to keep things consistent through the series. He's taken a real interest, and it's been very, kind of proactive about helping with that. In fact, he and I are he's doing a book tour for this Besieged this summer, and he and I are going to do a couple dates together on the East Coast at Harvard and somewhere in Boston. So Harvard and Yale, I think, are the two bookstores we're going to do. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, so he's great. He's one of those guys that you're just like, okay, he's got a lot going. He's got a new book coming out called Plague of Giants, which is a new series separate from the Iron Druid stuff. I'm really curious to see what it's like. So yeah, he's great. I've been, like I said, you get kind of really lucky in finding these people who are just incredible writers and storytellers. You know, it's people really exciting to be a part of it.
You back, Travis?
I am here, yes. I had to step away and refill my wine glass.
Okay.
I just put you guys on hold and went pee.
Oh, well, there you go, see?
You don't know when. People are going to be listening back to, like, when's that time when he didn't talk for, like, 2 minutes?
Let's see.
That's so funny.
What
Not
Now,
much you can say after that.
No, there's really not.
There's really not. I just kind of want to.
You got no segue.
I'm going to take the headset off and drop it. And,
We're done.
what I would like for you to do very quickly is kind of the roll call that you sent out. I would love for folks to be able to hear some of the voices and see you transition, because there's no editing right now. This is live. So what you're going to do is you're going to transition from character to character to character, and you don't have to do the entire roll call, which there was only like a 3-minute roll call, but for you,
I will say that there is no prep to this. I have not been made aware of this ahead of time. I just want a disclaimer for the audience. This is totally new. This has been sprung. All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Okay.
So I don't want to give anything away because it's a secret, but I don't know if it's a secret. So let me look this up. So there's all sorts of fun things that we're doing online right now to kind of promote audiobooks. I do a lot of live Facebook readings where I read from books that are maybe being released or coming up, give away download codes, things like that. And that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier of it being the wild, wild west of publishing right now, that there's just so many options for things. So let me look this up. There we go. So I got asked to do I don't know if I should give this away. I'm going to do a reading from W.B. Yeats. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay.
He's a writer. This is called The Second Coming. Okay. So what I'll do is...
This is one of my favorites.
All right, there you go.
I love this one.
We'll do this in, let's see. Why don't we do this as the characters from the Magic book? Remember I mentioned Magic 2.0? Mm-hmm. All right, so they were the same ones from the roll call. Should I do different ones since you've already listened to roll call? All right.
No.
All right.
Well, Wendy and I have listened to roll call. No one else has.
All right. Well, some people have.
Well, I even listened to your live. I listened to you on Facebook Live.
All right.
You gave me a voice for my 110-pound German Shepherd named Augustus.
Augustus? Yes. That sounds like this voice. Did I do this one?
No, you made him a little more German.
A little more German, Augustus.
That's the one, exactly.
Yes, Augustus. Very good. That works, too. All right, so this is the cast, Second Coming from W.B. Yeats. Okay. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second's coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born? That's it.
Bravo again, bravo.
I actually had to analyze that particular. I did. I had to analyze that in college in English 111.
It's a great poem.
It is
incredible.
It's a great poem. It really is. So I haven't heard it done quite like that before.
I don't know that anybody has. I think that might be a exclusive.
It is exclusive. It's a Mystic Moon Mafia.
Ooh,
Yes.
exclusive, yes. Carly is saying that
Here,
was fantastic.
You want to
And-
do? You've got comments. People are listening. Oh, that's
yes,
good.
people are listening, and she'd like you to do Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead.
Daryl Dixon. Daryl. Oh man, Daryl's kind of always like this. Man, I got those walkers. It's some crap, man. I shoot them with my arrow, but they keep coming at me. Shit. I'd have to look at him, but yeah,
Right,
he's
yeah.
good. I like The Walking Dead. I like turning in the widening gyre.
Yeah. Now you said something very interesting. You said to capture Daryl's voice, you'd have to look at him, but you don't get to look at the characters that you bring to life in an audiobook. You only have to go by what? I mean, seriously, what do you
His
go
imagination.
by?
Well, I go by what they give me, and then I go by what I see in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of I guess if you read a book, aren't you kind of thinking in voices, even though you're not really but you're, in your head, you're seeing somebody. So I'm just trying to translate whatever I'm seeing to how it comes out in a performance. So when I read his script, whoever it is, hers or her script, whatever images are coming to mind, those are what I'm trying to stay true to, just as when you read a book, those are the ones that pop in your mind. Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting is that translation, because what's in my mind then translated through what I perform into yours may not look the same. You may see that character as being very different.
Mm-hmm. Well, but that happens, and as we mentioned earlier, in casting and TV and movie roles. You see, someone comes to you and for example, my daughter just finished one of my favorite fiction books, and she actually, I was surprised the hell out of me. That was an ARC book in middle school, The Relic by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, and I love that book.
Mm-hmm.
Love that book. Movie, not so much. The book, yes. And she has gotten into this thing, and my daughter, she writes her own stories, and she just did, Wendy knows, my daughter's 12, she'll be 13 in July, she actually just was in a college play. She had 4 roles in this college play.
Good for her.
2 of them speaking, very, very, and she's in love with theater. I mean, she just loves everything. She loves everything about it. But she read The Relic, and then she was going through my DVD sets, and she's like, "You have the movie." I said, "Well, I have a movie." I said, it's one of those. Some of the casting was really great. She's like, because the main protagonist is Aloysius Pendergast, the special agent for the FBI. He's, from Louisiana. He's educated at Oxford, and but he has this deep Southern accent. But he's tall and blonde and almost albino. But they cast Tom. Hang on.
Tom Sizemore?
Tom Sizemore in the role.
I just looked it up.
Yes, Tom Sizemore, but he's not Pendergast, he's DaGosta, but they make DaGosta and Pendergast the same character. They take the character traits of both of these characters in the books and they roll them into one. And
Stan Winston did the effects.
The effects, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, and it was a great movie. It was a popcorn movie. It was one of those, but it was It was one of those that was just riddled with all of these problems. It was set in the New York Museum of Natural History, but they wouldn't let them shoot it there because, in their words, they were afraid the movie would scare kids from coming to the museum. And I'm going, hell, kids wanted to go to Jurassic Park when that movie was released. And that didn't even exist. You can't scare kids away from something. If you show them something, they want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Jump onto that. But anyway, and she's like, how could they do that? So it's her mission now. She wants to, she's trying to do this online petition to have them do the movie, and she's trying to get Pendergast cast. And so she has her 2 choices are Michael Fassbender and Tom Hiddleston. And she's like, these 2, they could do that character. And I'm like, yeah, they could.
That's so funny.
That
sounds like a typical theater 12-year-old girl. Yeah. Tom Hiddleston and
Michael Fassbender.
two beautiful English gentlemen. I love it.
Like, they could do this. I said,
they could.
She's
look good doing it.
She's a Cumberbitch. I mean, she loves Benedict Cumberbatch. He's
great. He's great.
He is. So now, I heard Wendy ask you about a favorite author that you work with, and I heard you really, really
tap dance.
Yeah. What about a favorite character?
Or is that Danger
It
Lane
kind of
also?
it changes. No, so I have like stages where there'll be a character. It always happens this way. It's interesting. I'll narrate, and there'll be kind of like a collection of characters that I'm kind of cycling through, using them from book to book. And I'll notice that there'll be a character that I start to like, and so they'll start to. I'll almost cast them as the lead in the next book because I liked them as that one character from a different book. So then I'll use them as a lead, and they'll be like, I really like this guy or this girl. And then I'll kind of, after a while, start to shuffle. I'll find somebody else and start to kind of move them through the process. So I feel like I'm kind of like a 1920s Warner Brothers Fat Cat, where I'm giving all these like promising leads to young stars in my head. And then I'm quickly disposing of them and moving on to somebody else who's my new favorite. The flavor of the month, so to speak. And that all happens inside my head, so I realize how that sounds, but it does work. But I have favorites. I have favorite voices. I have favorite characters from books, like Oberon is the classic dog character from Kevin Hearn's books that's captured so many people's hearts, and he's just this quintessential, like Kevin has really channeled what a dog is, I feel like. So I get, when he gets to talk, I feel very authentic of like, this is what a dog would say if it could talk. So it feels exciting to get to perform that. There's a character right now I've been using a lot. And he started out in the Richard Fox book. Well, he'd been in a couple supporting roles, and then I gave him a more standing role in Richard Fox's series, and he was this character called Standish. He's that one. He kind of talks up like this. He's real goofy, but he kind of, I like him, so I'm using him more right now. But I feel like I'm at that stage where I'm like, I might need to retire Standish a little bit. Because I know, too, people listen to stuff, so I don't want to, like, it's like, oh, he's just doing that same voice again. You know what I mean? And granted, there's only, like, so many voices you can do. There's not really, there is, you can do a zillion characters, but your voice can only change so many different ways. So there's a balance to that, but yeah, I like Standish. He's kind of my inner sarcastic guy, and Oberon's my inner dog. And I like there's that kind of like real tough guy, this kind of tough, just really down here. And I'm not that way at all, so I like playing that guy, and I use him quite a bit for your random tough guy. He's like meathead number 2.
Now, one of the things that I find interesting, do you or can you break into a female role?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no difference. It's just gender, but that doesn't really mean anything nowadays. I don't know that it ever...
This is true.
I don't think it really meant anything ever, but nowadays at least we're a little more open about it. But no, it's just a character. It's just a character. There's no really gender involved. If she's a scientist, I'm playing that she's a scientist and she wants to stop these aliens from deciding to, invade the Earth. So she's fighting. So it's more of a character thing. Yeah, obviously I'll lighten up my voice a little bit, or I'll play with higher registers with female characters, but I'll still do that with one. There's a character in that same Richard Fox series named Torny, and she's a female character, and she talks like this. So everything is like, she's just this tough, badass Marine. So it's, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I could use that same voice if somebody was like, okay, he's a 75-year-old guy that smokes cigarettes. I do the same voice. You know what I mean? It's like, but for Torny, it works because she's always just like, whatever. You know what I mean? She's so tough. So it's about getting the character across more than it's about getting the gender across. And then in scenes of like lovemaking or like intimate scenes between a man and a woman, again, it's just like two people. So it's just about creating enough difference in your voice so the person listening knows who's talking, as opposed to making it sound like this is the woman. This is what a woman would sound like when she does this. That's some tricky ground. I don't go there. I don't know what the fuck they do. I just try to I just try to
Just
be
read
supportive.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to say, I love the fucking fact that he fucking cusses on our show because I get so fucking tired of not being able to do it. He's improved my fucking mood tonight. That's all I'm going to say. My mood has elevated quite a bit. Now,
that's good.
See, Wendy knows I've been holding back on these shows. I don't let this stuff. I don't let this shit out whenever.
Well, I figure if
you
it's
can't with everyone.
If my kid's in bed in the next room, then I know that it's okay to be letting loose a little bit.
Exactly. It's after hours, and we're internet, so we're good. My question, it follows up with the gender, because I appreciate what you're saying. That it is first it's the character and it's the situation, and gender really is just one variable into interpreting that particular role. What, as far as like characters that continue in the series, so from book to book to book, do you find it difficult to recapture that same voice, that same personality? Do you let them evolve, or what's that process?
That's a really good question, actually, because I think a lot of people expect it to stay the same, and I'm not staying the same. So the characters evolve quite a bit, in my mind. And in my mind, it's okay. As long as the character serves the book I'm telling, that's my first priority. So I want to make it the best I can for the book I'm telling. If I've listened back and I listened to 2 books ago and I don't necessarily like what I chose to do, I do owe a responsibility to not change it completely, because people might like it and I might not, and that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? If that's what I did, I got to stick with it. But if there's something wrong, like maybe I'm just not as good as I wasn't as good at the accent as I am now, I'm not going to do a worse job just to match what I did before. And then there's another side of it that I always give the story of Oberon, who's the character that's the dog. If you listen to the first few books, I did him very much just kind of, he did this thing and he was very excited and he had these, it was that idea behind the dog. And also in the book, he was younger, so he was much more one note. But as the books, because I did the first one, I didn't know there was going to be 9 other ones, plus 3, short story collections, 4 other ones, they're novellas and whatever. So I just did one book, and I did it as this character. So then the next time, he evolved a little bit, but he's still that same character. But if you listen to him now, he's like a whole different guy. He's got this character, But what happened was, as I did the books, he needed more ability to play different levels, and just that one thing of just doing this was funny, and it was that dog idea, but it didn't have the kind of full fleshed out character that 9 books plus 3 novellas and several short story collections will start to flesh out this real character, even though he's a dog. You know what I mean? So I think the voice starts to reflect that, and then you also I've been working on him for over 8 years, so I've changed. My voice has changed. I've, grown. I got hair growing in different places, and all sorts of things are changing.
Puberty.
I'm being a real boy. Yeah, this is puberty 2. It's puberty part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah. No, but if you think about it, all our voices change. Your voice 10 years ago, you're in radio. You know this, so I'm not,
not
telling you anything you don't know. So
everything impacts that.
Yeah,
I was going to say
everything. Change.
Your diet, what you drink, what you smoke, if you don't smoke, everything, your stress level, all of that changes.
Well, I've got one book, so that Oberon character, the real goofy dog that I just did. So this year, every year they do Audies, which are like the Academy Awards for audiobooks. And so this year, Kevin and I, who's the author, Kevin Hearn of the series, he wrote a short novella of just Oberon doing a detective kind of story, figuring out some case with the other characters, but mainly it was about the dog, and it hadn't been that way before. And he, figuratively or not, threw me a bone and was like, let's produce this together through ACX, which is a company that you can produce audiobooks through without going through a big main company. And so we produced it together, And it's now up for Best Male Narrator for me and that book. And so there's an ability to take these characters, and now he's kind of got his own offshoot brand. You know what I mean? He's tied into that. Mm-hmm. And now I had to do a whole book from that perspective. So if the whole book had been the original way of a very excited dog that wants to do this, you know what I mean? It doesn't quite carry a story the same way as somebody that can have a little subtler. Well, he's not subtle. He's anything but subtle. You know that, Wendy. But you know what I mean? Like, he's got to have some nuance to him. He's got to be able to take a whole story from beginning to finish. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where we went from that, but it was basically about characters evolving through long-running series, and they do. And it's just kind of how it goes. Again, it's, are you serving the story that you're telling at the time?
Sure. I think Travis has left us again, so I'll take over again. I usually let him take the lead. He does that. Yes, he is. He had to go tinkle.
That's okay. I was going on a bit long-winded.
You were not. He just has a small bladder, apparently.
I've got large lungs, and he's got a small bladder.
There you go.
Blowhard.
Not at all. You wouldn't be you if you couldn't talk, right?
Oh my God! Well, I don't talk normally.
Excuse me.
Unless I'm recording, I don't. Right. I'm very quiet. I don't talk at all.
Interesting.
Most people in my life, even my daughter, the other day we were riding bikes, and she was like, "So," and I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "You got anything to say?"
No, I'm talking.
I get it all the time. I know. I did all my stories, and I got no stories to tell because all my stories are made up. So at the end of the day, when people are like, "Oh, you won't believe what happened at work today," they've got these things to tell. At the end of my day, I'm like, "You won't believe what happened at work today. The aliens blew up the Earth."
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Not really. I just made it up. It was just fake. Mm-hmm. And then everyone's like, "Great story, dude."
And which one are you currently working on? Or
I'm doing 2 right now, currently. I'm finishing up a novella for a series called The Game is Life. And it's a series for Podium Publishing that's all about virtual reality, in that, like, we live in a virtual reality world. It's kind of weird because at first I was like, this is crazy. And then I just watched this thing where Elon Musk was like, I'm pretty sure we live in a virtual reality world. Mm. And I was like, oh my God. So it's this whole series where people are kind of living in a world, discovering they're in a virtual reality world. Kind of Matrix,
Kind of Matrix, kind of
sci-fi.
Right.
So I'm finishing that, and then I've got another ACX book with an author that I found me actually, named Michael Suskind. And it's called The God Complex, and it's another sci-fi fantasy type deal. And then next week I do this series from Heather Graham called The Paranormal Investigators Crew of Hunters. I've done like 17 of them. I'm doing another one, which is exciting. That's coming up. So I'm actually booked until fall. So I could go through the whole list, but it gets on, like I said, I'm doing Besieged in June. Mm-hmm. I'm doing another series for this Richard Fox. So I did I think 9 books for him, and now he started another. It's like the same world, but different characters. So, you get in these series, and it's crazy nowadays because they're either 7 or 9 books long, and then they've got all these offshoots and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's really exciting, and it's cool to be part of. But then you've got to plan it all out, because I've got 5 of those that I planned out through the next 5 months that are all from that same book. Another series that are for the next 3 months. So it's trying to, like I said, it's all that work of scheduling, which is uses a different part of my brain than what I like to use. Working it all out, but so far it's good. I've got a lot on my plate, a lot of stuff coming up.
Very good.
So exciting stuff.
Job security and everything.
In this business, that's a lucky thing. I spent many years where you didn't know where your next paycheck's coming from. So
I can well imagine.
It's I'm very fortunate to be able to have at least a little bit.
We've worked for the same companies, obviously.
It's just anytime you're in this business. I mean, I've been a freelancer for 10 years, so it's better than I could have ever hoped. So I'm just happy and very grateful.
You know, freelancing does have its pros and cons. I mean, I freelanced up until 2015. I was doing nothing but freelance marketing, PR, branding consulting, working with self-published authors, emerging talent, and emerging brands. And you do have a great deal of flexibility, but you don't get paid all that well sometimes.
Well, it just depends on, like I was saying, you've got that whole other, you've got to really juggle keeping. So when I'm, like I said, I've got, part of my struggle is I've got, 4 months of work lined up. But I got to maintain focus on the current project, right? Put everything into that performance. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm answering emails about next week's performance, or I'm maybe trying to set up a book for 3 months from now, or I'm trying, you know what I mean? So it's really hard. I'm having a hard time operating in those different headspaces. Like when I'm in performance mode, I want to perform. I don't want to have to go back and forth between trying to be my own marketer and then at the same time be my casting agent and then be, you know what I mean? So it is. Yeah.
Actually, that was one of my selling points to self-published authors is most self-published authors, and Carly, who I'm sure is still listening, who has Crimson Cloak Publishing, will attest to this. They hold at least one regular job, 9 to 5, and they're writing because it's a passion. Mm-hmm. And they can't do all of those other components of marketing and PR and branding and publicizing and booking interviews and all of those things. That was my selling point. That's how I got individuals to hire me, was to say, look, outsource that to me. Here's the fee, and so forth. Now, but that's not me selling myself, because I have a good 9 to 5 job now, and I don't have to worry about where my paycheck comes from, and I just got a raise, so I'm happy. So,
all right. Well, happy May Day to you.
Wendy's cracking up. Yeah. I do have one question. We're running out of time, but I do have one question. We've asked a lot of things about the good, and all your favorite character, your favorite author, things like that. You've brought a lot of characters to life. What's the most difficult character that you've breathed life into?
Well, difficult how? There's difficult like, oh my God, I am so bad at this accent.
No, just...
or difficult like, I just don't get what they're trying to do with this character. Or, so for instance, like, okay, when I started out, I had a difficult time with Australian accents. It just didn't click, and so I had to work at it. And so then I had a character that was Australian, and so I had a lot of work of trying to get it right. So that kind of helped. What character have I had the hardest time with? Like, give me more. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, as an actor, and you get a book that comes, and you've got multiple characters in these books, and you go, holy shit, I'm going to have to bring this one to life.
I mean, there's times I've taken chances where I've been like, I don't know if that's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. So I did a book like where there was a devil. He was like this giant devil. And so I did this voice, and I was like, is that going to, like, can I do that? Is that like, because it was, when I started out, like I said, a lot of things were straight reads. So then I was kind of felt like I was always pushing the envelope of like, I'm kind of making this guy really kind of out there. But that seems to fit the character. So there's times I've kind of towed my line of like, how far out there can I go? And there's times where I go, is that too far? Mm-hmm. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those things you hear visual actors talk about, it was so difficult to bring this character to life, and it was so difficult to come in. And you've done many different types. And I guess what I was asking is that could you put a name to a character? Looking back in your Rolodex of characters that you created, which would be the one for you that was the most difficult to just breathe life into?
God, I'm going to come up empty on it. I really don't have one. I think that's...
Oh, you're just that good.
It's going to sound that way, and maybe it is, but I don't think it is. I think it's that I've enjoyed the character. I've certainly had characters where it's not well written, and so I'm like, this is just like, how do you make this sound real? So I'm not going to say who that is, but at the same time, I've done that before where you're like, how do I breathe life into something that's very stilted and they're kind of repeating themselves or they don't have a clear motivation? Those are difficult because then I have to kind of find something outside of it. Like I have to build more into the character from my side of the thing than what the author's giving me. So a lot of times authors will it's just there. You know what I mean? You don't have to work. And then there's other times you have to work harder because it's not interesting. So you're trying to find something to hook yourself in the story and hopefully hook the audience in the story. But I would say that's very rare. And every author that's ever listened to this should know it's not them I'm talking about.
Well, speaking of
Was that politic enough for you?
It was extremely. One final question that I want to tell people how they can follow you, how they can follow the authors. You mentioned the authors that you work with. What do you think has been the best compliment that you have received from an author about your interpretation of the character they created?
There's been a couple. I've been really fortunate to be able to talk to authors, and that's part of the beauty of social network, even though it's very difficult on a personal sense. I'm not really into it. But for the business, I get to talk to authors all the time, not just through email and through the books, but through Twitter and through Facebook. It's a really great way to kind of be able to connect with them, and the fans do too. So I've been able to have a lot of contact with them. And I found out the other day that an author, Marcus Saki, who's written the Brilliance trilogy, which is a sci-fi, near-future, really good trilogy. In the third book, there's a character named Luke, and somebody tweeted him about how they liked the third book, and he mentioned, oh yeah, Luke did a great job. He really nailed the Luke chapters. And then he like made a winky face, and I wrote back and was like, oh, I tweeted back. I was like, yeah, I totally pretended it was me. And then he tweeted back and was like, it was. And then I was I direct messaged him, and I was like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, I totally wrote it. I totally used your name. And I was like, what? So that was like a super cool thing that he wrote me in as far as just using my name for a character, which I hadn't had. And I've noticed nods before in Kevin's book where there's some sort of like reference where I know he's kind of cueing me as the narrator into what or how I should say it, but kind of a nod almost. It's almost like breaking the fourth wall in a way from author to narrator. It's interesting. I don't know if I have a specific example, but there's been times where I'm like, he's talking to me, making sure I say it this way.
Nice.
And, I have a lot of times, I like the compliment where they say, I totally never heard the character the way that you did it. But they don't say it in a way of like, I never heard the character like you did it. They're saying it like, that was not what I expected, but it's so exciting that somebody else took my idea and made it perfectly legitimate. I think in a way it expands their world in that they created this, but then they see that it can have so many interpretations.
Well, when you're dealing with authors, it's almost like dealing with a parent and their child.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you've breathed life, they've created this thing, but all of a sudden you kind of breathe life into it. And it's like almost like kind of the parents and the child and the babysitter scenario. The parents
if you have a kid, you're like, that's not my child.
No.
I didn't get rid of that.
What, where did that come from? And so now
that's her mother. That's her mother.
Exactly.
I'm just the mother in the equation.
Or the grandmother. I told my daughter the other night, she said something to me. I said, you know what? You sound just like my mother. And I said her name. And she's like, is that a bad thing? I said, yes. Do you ever wonder why I don't like her that much? When you say shit like that, and you say shit that way, that is wrong.
That's my grandmother.
Exactly. That's my
That
mother.
carries
That's your
down.
grandmother. That's my mother. That's your grandmother, and you're acting just like her. So, now, two things really quickly, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, but I enjoy doing that because I'm a bastard, as Wendy will attest.
Yeah.
I'll swear to it.
We really do want to do War of the Worlds this October. Can we count you in? Would you help us?
Sure, of course.
Oh, awesome.
I would love to. I
we-
would
we-
love to. I've always loved it. I listened to the old version when I was a kid.
own that. I own that one on CD. I own the Orson Welles original broadcast, and from beginning to end, I love it on CD.
Yeah, I would love to take part in it. So count me in.
Awesome. We want to do that. Now, how can folks follow you on social media, and what upcoming projects do you have that you're working on?
The best way is they can search on Facebook for Luke Daniels, and that's my artist page. They can like that, and then I do quite a few, like I said, online things where I give away download codes for books, or I do readings from books, or I publish, what's coming out so people can know what's coming up. So Facebook's really good. The actual handle, which is the same for my Twitter account, is @Lucky Luke E Cool. I
like it.
It's Luke backwards, so EKUL. So it is what it is. It's stuck, and I don't mind. So people can find me that way on Twitter, and then www.luke-daniels.com is the website that actually is fan created, which I can say with great pride. I had a fan contact me, and he is like a legit web designer from Australia. And he was like, I really like your stuff, and I want to help you out, because I had a website, and it was pretty, I had a engineer friend just throw it up. But he wanted to make it more legit, and he spent a lot of time totally gratis, totally just because he liked the books. And so I'm super proud of it. You can check it out, www.luke-daniels.com, and you can see what he did and what we put together. It's got recommendations of series that I like that I've done, and then you can see other collections and reviews and things like that. So
It's a very good website. I like it.
yeah. And then, thank you. That's good. I'll tell him that. He did a good job. He was really, intent, and you get that, initial interest, and you're like, is this person for real? And I slowly came to realize this guy is more than real. This guy knows what he's doing. So I was really lucky to have that. And then as far as appearances, I'm doing the Audies, but then in July, I'm going to make 2 book appearances with Kevin Hearn for his new Iron Druid book, Besieged. And we're going to do that in Harvard and Yale. And I think that's July 15th and 16th. So if you look on the website and on the social media, there'll be more updates on that. But then we can sign stuff. I got baseball cards that have my picture on them, that have my stats, recorded books made, super cool. I made my daughter take one. I was like, here you go. She's like, oh, thanks. And I was like, you can give them to your friends. And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, don't think so.
Oh, man.
So, anyways, I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been great to talk about this stuff. Thank you.
This has been great, Luke. Thank you so much. We want to have you back on.
I would love to.
We would love to have you back, and especially if not before, definitely in October. And Wendy and I will be in touch with you, and we'll get the scripts out, and we'll get everything lined up, because that actually was a huge project for us, and it just didn't happen. But it is going to happen this October.
I'd love to be part of it. Thanks, both of you, Travis and Wendy. I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you so much.
You too, my friend. Wendy, what song is taking us out tonight?
Well, I believe we'll do Katie Guillen and the Girls from Kansas City, the local Kansas City group, called Heavy Days.
Awesome. Next week, Andrea Perrin, oldest daughter from The Conjuring, author of House of Darkness, House of Light. She'll be our guest. You don't want to miss it. She is always enjoyable. She's always entertaining. She's always educational. Can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Mystic Moon Mafia, Mystic Moon Cafe.
That's
Thanks,
us.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Alrighty. Travis, are you gone too?
Nope, I'm here.
Okay, alrighty.
I'm here.
And so is Luke.
Good. So's Luke. Yay.
All right.
All right. Well,
Thanks, you
I will
guys.
try that. I'll try
Thank
that
you.
little experiment where I shut the microphones off and then unplug my
And we might actually be able to
headphones
hear
so
the
you
music.
can hear the music. Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
You too.
Night, Luke.
Bye.
Bye. All right.
Oh, to be new again. Before I knew what it was to win. When this shiny new toy was my friend. Oh, just to begin. In that moment, I went tumbling with my arms spread, falling back into the open. Now I'm flat from heavy days. Focused hard, I can't see straight. How'd I get here? What do I say? No questions, just stay the way. Stay the way. In that moment, I went tumbling with my arms spread, falling back into the open. In that moment, I went tumbling with my arms spread, falling back into the open.
Thank you for joining us tonight. You've been listening to Mystic Moon Cafe. Join us every Wednesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. On behalf of Wendy Schindler, this is Travis Short saying have a great rest of your week.
That's all, folks.